Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that feels incredibly modern, but is actually as old as civilization itself. Debt forgiveness. You hear about it all the time now, right? Student loan forgiveness, national debt debates. It seems like we're the first generation grappling with these massive economic puzzles. But what if I told you that ancient kings and emperors were dealing with the exact same problems thousands of years ago, and their solutions might just blow your mind? Let's travel back in time, way back to ancient Mesopotamia around 2400 BC. This is where we find the very first recorded instances of what they called clean slates. Imagine this. You're a farmer. A bad harvest hits, maybe a flood, and suddenly you can't pay back the loan you took for seeds. You fall into debt, and that debt can lead to you losing your land, or even worse, being forced into bondage. Over time, this didn't just ruin individual lives, it destabilized the entire kingdom. Too many people losing their land meant fewer farmers, less food, and fewer soldiers for the army. The society would start to crumble from the inside out. So, what did the rulers do? Did they just say, "Tough luck, pay your debts"? Not at all. Rulers like the Sumerian king Enmetena understood that widespread debt was a threat to their power and the stability of their kingdom. So, upon taking the throne, or after a major military victory, they would issue a royal decree. They would announce an amargi, literally return to mother, which was a massive, society-wide debt cancellation. This wasn't some soft-hearted act of kindness. It was a calculated, pragmatic move for survival. These decrees would cancel agrarian debts, the loans taken out by everyday people to survive. It allowed families to return to their ancestral lands, freed people from debt servitude, and essentially hit the economic reset button for the entire society. It restored social balance and ensured the kingdom had a productive population ready to farm, pay taxes, and fight. This wasn't a one-off thing either. We see this practice repeated for over 1,000 years across Mesopotamia, by the Babylonians and the Assyrians. The famous Code of Hammurabi, one of the oldest legal texts in the world, includes provisions for exactly this kind of debt relief in times of crisis. It was just considered a standard tool of good governance. Now, let's jump over to the ancient Israelites. The Bible contains some of the most radical debt forgiveness laws in history. You've probably heard of the Jubilee year. The book of Leviticus lays out a system where every 50 years, all debts were to be forgiven, all property was to be returned to its original owners, and all slaves were to be set free. Think about that for a second. It wasn't just a reset. It was a fundamental principle designed to prevent the long-term concentration of wealth and the creation of a permanent underclass. The idea was that the land ultimately belonged to God, and no family should be permanently dispossessed of their ancestral plot. This periodic redistribution was meant to ensure social justice and prevent the kind of extreme inequality that could tear a society apart. While historians debate how strictly the Jubilee was actually enforced, its presence as a legal and moral ideal is incredibly powerful. It shows a deep understanding that unchecked debt creates a cycle of poverty that is destructive to the entire community. But what happened as we moved towards the Roman Empire? Well, things started to change. Rome was built on a different economic model. Unlike the Mesopotamian kings whose power base was a free peasantry, Roman power was concentrated in a wealthy, land-owning aristocracy. For them, the sanctity of contracts and debt collection was paramount. They were the ones doing the lending. So, widespread debt cancellation? That was a threat to their wealth and power. You did see some attempts at reform. The famous Gracchi brothers, for instance, tried to push for land reform and debt relief for the poor, and let's just say it didn't end well for them. They were assassinated. As Rome grew, massive inequality became the norm. Huge numbers of small farmers lost their land to big, slave-powered estates owned by the wealthy, often because of debt. This created a huge, unstable urban population of landless poor, which contributed to centuries of political instability and, eventually, the downfall of the Republic. The Roman experience serves as a powerful counterexample. When a society prioritizes the rights of creditors over the stability of the population, it can sow the seeds of its own collapse. So, what does all this ancient history have to do with us today? Everything. We're having the exact same conversations, just with different terminology. When we debate forgiving student loans, we're not talking about a radical new idea. We're echoing the ancient Mesopotamian understanding that when a huge portion of the population is trapped in unproductive debt, it holds the entire economy back. These aren't just personal failings, they are systemic problems. A generation of people delaying buying homes, starting families, or launching businesses because of student debt is a drag on everyone, not just the debtors. When we talk about the national debt, we're grappling with the same questions of sustainability that ancient rulers faced. How much debt is too much before it cripples the state's ability to function? The historical lesson isn't that we should just wipe out all debt, all the time. The lesson is that debt forgiveness has always been a tool, a pragmatic, necessary tool for maintaining social and economic stability. The ancients didn't see it as a moral failing to need help. They saw it as a systemic problem that required a systemic solution. They understood that an economy that only works for the creditors will eventually fail everyone. By looking at these clean slates of the past, we can see our current debates in a new light. It's not about being for or against debt. It's about asking a much bigger question. What kind of society do we want to build? One that prioritizes contracts above all else, like late Republic Rome? Or one that, like the ancient Sumerians, understands that sometimes, for the good of all, you need to hit the reset button and give everyone a chance to return to Mother? It's a fascinating perspective, isn't it? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Does this history change how you see modern debt debates? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this interesting, please give the video a like and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden histories that shape our world. See you next time.